Alright, you guys, I've been enjoying the Limit 1 Festival a lot, so much so that I actually cooked up another deck for it. This one, it's a little bit in between meme status and actually being decent. Um, the wins that I've been able to pull out with it are surprising. I actually ran a bunch of different variants of it until I came up with this specific variant that worked very well, and it's kind of a hodgepodge of burn cards and weird cards. So we have one morphing jar. Uh, Being able to draw 5 again to replenish our hand after we use our traps is good. One dice jar because sometimes we really need to get burn damage in, and this card has the potential to do burn damage. One marshmallow because it can't be beat over by battle and it does 1,000. One Blast Asmodean because if any spell or trap cards are chained, you inflict 5 to your opponent, and that 500 can really add up. One Volcanic counter. When you take battle damage, if it's in your graveyard, banish it from the graveyard. Then, if there's a fire monster other than Volcanic counter in your graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent. So you basically have to have your Lava Golem or your Blast Asmodean in your grave to do that, but it's worth it. One Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. That basically lets us live long enough to get our effects off. One Zero Gardener. Used to run this in old Final Countdown decks. You contribute this card to activate its effect. If you do, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage during this turn. This effect can be activated during either player's turn. One Mahama the Fairy Dragon. During your opponent's turn, when either player takes battle damage, you can special summon this card from your hand and activate one of the effects. You either gain life points equal to the battle damage or inflict damage to your opponent equal to the battle damage. So, pretty decent. One Lava Golem. Can't be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand to your opponent's side of the field, tributing 2 monsters. You can't normal summon or set the turn you special summon this card. Once per turn during your standby phase, take 1,000, so you're dealing 1,000 to your opponent and potentially removing 2 cards from the field. One Pot of Desires, one Pot of Extravagance, one Pot of Prosperity, because you really need the draw power. One Cauldron of Old Man, because it can be continuous damage. Basically, you get a counter on it during your standby phase, and you can remove a counter. Sorry, not remove a counter. Once per turn, you can either inflict 300 for each counter to your opponent, or gain 500 for each counter. So, decent. One Just Desserts, one Wabaku, one Ceasefire, one Magic Cylinder, one Thunder Ruler, one Secret Barrel, one Threatening Roar, one Dimension Wall, one Accumulated Fortune, because we are that desperate to draw cards. You can only activate it as Chain Link 4 or higher. You can draw 2 cards. You can't activate this card if multiple cards or effects were activated within the same chain, but that's okay because you can only have one of each in this effect in this event. One Flashbang. Activate only after damage calculation when a monster your opponent controls makes a direct attack. Is now the end phase of the turn. This card has actually been very useful. One Secret Blast. One Balance of Judgment. If your opponent has more cards than... If your opponent controls more cards than the combined number of cards in your hand and that you can draw equal to the surplus. We really need to draw cards. One Blazing Mirror Force. One Paleozoic Olnoides. One Paleozoic Hallucigenia. One Paleozoic Candia. One Paleozoic Pichia. One Paleozoic Eldonia. One Paleozoic Demiscus. One Paleozoic Morella. One Paleozoic Lachella. So this one destroys the spell or trap. This one cuts a monster's attack and defense into half. It's basically a shrink. This one is Book of Moon. It books an opponent's monster face down. This one's discard another Paleo card, draw 2. This one is make a monster gain 500 attack until the end phase. I've actually boosted my opponent's monster attack and then used something like Magic Cylinder or Dimension Wall to do more damage. One Dynamiscus. This Dynamiscus is target a face-up card, discard a card, and banish it. Morella is send another trap card from your deck to the graveyard. Most of the time we send this one because it's terrible. Lachelia lets you target a banished card and return it to the graveyard to recur your Paleo effects. 1 trap full of spikes. When an opponent's monster that was normal or special summoned this turn declares an attack, destroy that attacking monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the original attack of that monster. 1 Gravedigger's Trap Hole. This card was amazing. 1 Boo Boo Game. This card was also amazing. If this set card is destroyed by your opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, target up to 2 normal traps except Boo Boo Game and set them to the field. The other effect is during damage calculation of a monster battles, you take no damage from that battle. So, very good card. 1 Magic Cylinders. Lets you set a Magic Cylinder directly from your deck or graveyard. It can be set, if it's set from the deck, it can be activated at turn. When you activate Magic Cylinder, you can banish this card in your graveyard and double the damage inflicted to your opponent. 1 Skull Invitation. Every time a card or cards is sent to the graveyard, inflict 300 damage to the owner for each card sent. 1 Redeemable Jar. Banish a trap from your grave, and then add a trap from your graveyard to your hand with a different original name than the banished card. You can only use this effect of Redeemable Jar once per turn. This is really needed in this deck in this format. Then the extra deck, we have both Paleo XYZs. They're both unaffected by monster effects. All the Paleo cards, by the way, you can special summon them from your graveyard when you chain a trap card to anything, or when you activate a trap card, you can chain this and special summon. So that's good because it puts bodies on the board, and they also have that effect of being unaffected by monster effects. So being able to use them to overlay for these guys, really useful. So once per turn, if a trap card is sent from the spell trap card sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can excavate the top card of your deck. If it's a trap card, add it to your hand, otherwise send it to the grave. And then once per turn during either player's turn, if as a trap card is XYZ material, you can detach an XYZ material, target 1 card in the field and destroy it. This is an awesome effect. The other Paleo, if he has a trap card as material, you can detach an XYZ material, add any Paleo trap card from your deck to your hand. And the other really good effect is you can activate Paleo trap cards from your hand. So really, really good effect. 1 Tyrus, even though we can't go into it, we're running it. You could run other Link 2s like Sky Cavalry. Realistically, you really don't go into Links very much. I'm just running these basically because they're names I can banish. But if you actually did want to run useful... Oh, Sky Cavalry's not even on there. But if you wanted to run more useful 2s, you could. Zeus is pretty much the only one of those you actually use. 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Fire Charmer, 1 Wind Charmer, 1 Earth Charmer. You can actually go into Earth Charmer and the Water Charmer fairly easily because the Paleo cards are water and the Earth Charmer is earth, and you have your your Earth cards up here. You got that Morphing Jar. The Fire you would have to use like one of these for. That's fine. You're like, if you need to go into the Fire Charmer to take your opponent's Snake Eyes monster, you can easily do that. 1 Dark the Dark Charmer, 1 Abyss Keeper, and then 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Abyss Keeper is good because it's any 2 water monsters. These guys are water. When it's Link summoned, you can special summon a fish monster from your hand this card points to. You won't do that, but you can target 1 other fish monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls, banish those cards. You also won't do that, but then why am I running that? It's a name. But that's pretty much it. This deck has been a lot of fun. It's basically just been a troll deck that I've been playing in the Limit 1 Festival. I have gotten a good amount of replays with it. I'm going to show you guys some of them. The deck is definitely decent. And half the time, if you just draw a brick hand, you can just scoop and go to the next one. But like this, I'm like, okay, this is a decent hand. Not going to be able to use the Fortune, but it's decent. We set everything. Our opponent is going to be playing Tier, which is pretty much the best deck for this Limit 1 format, in my opinion. They're going to do Tier things, and I'm going to Grave Diggers, and they take 2,000. My opponent keeps playing stuff, and I'm just sitting here being like, okay, cool. When are you going to go to battle phase? Okay, cool. Can you go to battle phase now? And they just keep doing things, and I'm sitting here contemplating my life choices to run this deck. Finally, they go into Kick Kalos, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They're gonna go into the big one. It's the big one. Battle phase, bam, wipe that board. You can take all that damage. They're going to get back their card, and bam, take more damage. And then finally, they get finished off with Cylinder. And that's like an ideal hand to have for people that are playing an aggro deck, because they're not going to expect you to have all three of those cards, because they are all limited to one. That's kind of more of a golden hand for that matchup. So we're going to go to the next replay and show you where I have, a little bit less of a golden hand. So we're going first. We draw the Lava Golem, but that's fine. We just set the 4. Hey look, it's Scareclaw. We're going to go ahead and activate Skull Invitation right off the bat. They're going to link, fine. You're going to take 3 for that. Take that 3. Take that 9. You want to keep linking? Please be my guest. Battle phase, we get the Cylinder. I don't know why I didn't activate that during battle phase, but whatever. I could have won that turn. Banish the Cylinder, because why not? Add the D-wall, set the D-wall, play the Lava Golem, just be like, okay, we're doing all this crazy shit. They're just gonna keep taking damage. That Skull Invitation did work. Finally, they out the Skull Invitation. And they know they can't win, so they surrender, because they know I have D-wall set. Like, there are multiple ways to win with this deck that made it a lot of fun. Oh, here's the one with Dice Jar. This was funny. Go to Desires, which sucks because it just removes a bunch of my traps. A bunch of my good damaging traps. We did get rid of Vidonia, which is pretty poopy. We got the Dogwood. Pumping up our life points in case we punch ourselves in the face with Dice Jar. They're going to return the Dice Jar. I just wish I could have gotten that to resolve. We're going to show our hand a little early and set Cylinder. They're probably going to destroy it. Now we just need a card. And we got a card. Like, that could have been just desserts. It could have been anything. It would have been fine. Our opponent's just, like, going into things, and we're like, okay, sure. Cool, bro. We get Redeemable Jar, which that was definitely a pretty sweet top deck. They go into battle, and they lose. And then I think this one will be the last one I show. This was a 17 turn game for my Disco Inferno deck right here. Limited 1 Festival Edition. Ooh, that was some weird lag. Alright, and we're just like, okay, we're gonna play everything now. It's Cyber Dragon. Right off the bat, we're gonna be like, yeah, please don't do things to us during battle. We get kaiju'd, they go into things, and I'm just like, oh, this is not good. We draw one of the most useless cards we could possibly draw. I'll just take the 2. It's fine, honestly. We get D-Wall, and we're like, okay, cool, we'll be cooking now. Finally get a bit of damage on him. We're going to set the Aroma Jar because it can't be destroyed. This is when we were playing Aroma Jar. We ended up taking it out because it was just such a brick. The fact that they actually had to get over it with the Sky Striker is funny though. They actually warning the Blast Asmodean, and I question that, but it could have added up, I guess. Get the cylinders, set the cylinders, and now we play the waiting game. It's like, can you please summon something? And they do. And we activate magical cylinders, and they end because they don't want to attack into it. Set the marshmallow. And this is basically just the top deck game at this point. Set the dice jar. We are going to gamble with that dice jar. Let's see if our gamble pays off. It was the 25, then the 15. I was like, oh baby. Dice jar into ceasefire. It's probably one of the only times you'll see dice jar getting resolved. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.